Hey guys, welcome back. Today I wanted to talk a bit more about letting go of the old story and creating a blank slate when it comes to you, your identity, and with respect to anyone in your personal reality. SPs is what we talk about on this channel, but this can apply to anyone. And so how do you let go of an old story? A lot of you seem to be obsessing over what someone said, how they appeared or used to be, what happened, etc. And so how do you actually persist in a new story without resistance? And that's what we're going to cover off today. Letting go, creating a blank slate, and persisting in your new identity, because this is always about you and not about them. And doing so in a way that feels natural. So why does the old story feel so heavy? Most people stay stuck because they think that the old story is the fixed and the true reality. They think that person rejected me, that person said they don't want me, my boss told me I'm not good enough, or I am going to get fired, people in my work don't respect me, and they continue to reinforce it, and the old story stays alive. And so the circumstances are not what's holding you, it's your identity and your thoughts that you're projecting out and those beliefs that keep perpetuating. And so obsessing over words, conversations, is one of the biggest traps when it comes to seeing change in your outer reality, because this is an inner job, not an outer job. So as far as an SP saying that they're not ready for a relationship in one conversation, or a co-worker saying something shitty, you're giving a lot of power away to those words that were projections from one identity and a belief about yourself. And therefore, you're identifying with that as true, fixing it as true, and then replaying it over and over. And so, there's a way to stop spirals. There's a way to stop resisting and just let go by saying that's the old story and replacing it with the new story, the new identity of you. I am respected. I am valued. I am loved. I am chosen. Everyone in my work gives me all the respect. I'm the one that gets the promotions. Here's the freedom, guys. Nobody in your reality is stuck being who they appeared to be or who they were. Everyone is you pushed out. There are infinite versions of them available to you through you. In your personal reality, they're showing up like you've given them a role, or you have placed some kind of, assumption on how they are, and this is fixed, okay? Now, for those of you in the back that want to yell at me, because a lot of the time this is controversial, people are talking about where they've been poorly treated, etc., that I'm encouraging people to obsessively try to get people to come in that are bad people. Now, guys, in the end of the day, it's up to you. If you want to see change in your relationship dynamics, in your workplace, I've given an example, with your friendships, with your family, etc. You're not forcing anyone to change. You're shifting your identity. So you're doing a favor to yourself regardless. And in the case of some of you, not all cases are extreme where someone was abusive or whatever, but nothing is impossible. It's always through you just detaching from an experience and saying, if I want to be self-empowered, I can say that something that happened was something that happened that I'm ready to let go of, and I'm ready to assume a new identity. And there is infinite ways you can experience reality through your identity. So think about it also in persisting in a new story. So say the I am loved. Well, you don't wake up and say, am I Sarah or am I not Sarah? This should become very natural and neutral and normal to you. Or I am respected, or I am chosen. So how does the version of you who's secure, loved, and chosen, how do they wake up? How do they think? How do they feel? They're not looking for outside validation or proof that that's who they are. So you're not going to be sitting around waiting for someone to show you your identity and your truth, or that your name is X. So it should get to a point where it feels neutral, and this is where you know you've let go of old story, identification, resistance. Persistence, it's not about forcing people. It's not about fighting an old story. You can observe the old story and say, okay, look, something has been shown, or people have reflected back something. Let's take it away from SPs, because people tend to want to fight about this, but whatever. It applies to any person in your reality. So let's say persisting in a new story in your workplace where actually, in fact, you're the shit. Everybody in your workplace loves you. Your boss thinks you're the best in the whole organization. You can see a flip from them seeming dismissive, tough on you, cold, to being completely different. Test it out, guys. All you're doing is letting go of all this resistance of holding on to an instance or a conversation or the way you perceived a person before from an identity that felt like you were being rejected, outcasted, not enough, etc. Something that was triggering an insecurity, but I don't like to say triggering because the outside is always an effect of an identity, right? So everything stems from within us, an identity that we hold. No, I'm not excusing people that mistreat you, and no, I'm not making you responsible that you should want them and you should need them. It's the opposite, guys. But why do we say that everyone is a mirror and no one to change but self, which is what Neville said, right? So it's like, in the end of the day, it's not your fault if you experience something painful or hurtful, but holding on to it and keeping the story alive as you're the version of you that gets hurt and feels all this pain, or in the case of work, or in the case of those of you that want the SP, but you want version 2.0 and not the one that said something at one point in one conversation, or said that they're not ready or isn't the type to commit, which again was one version pushed out of maybe an identity of you that feels like you don't get the guy or the girl that you want, or you're not the chosen one. You know, you're perpetuating circumstances, conditions from an identity that you're letting go of, guys. The resistance will go when you let go of your story, okay? So you need to rewrite the story of you. You are the center of your world. So whether this applies in your career, an SP that you've previously known and dealt with in other versions of reality and identity, a family member, a friend, anybody, test it out by selecting how would you think and assume about yourself and that person if you've stepped into the identity that has everything exactly what you want, because you are everything, can experience everything through identity, through what you're projecting, okay? So persisting in looking at the outside and obsessing about old conversations, circumstances, etc., really in respect to anything or anyone in your reality that you have experienced that is undesirable, is really you clinging to an identity of you that has an undesirable experience, or you have an association with that as being, you know, making you feel like shit, and you just continue to perpetuate that. So if you want the real change, the change comes from within. It's got nothing to do with the outside, okay? So practice it, guys. Practice just a clean slate. Practice having a blank slate, okay? Get really, really clean. Throw everything out the window. Moment by moment by moment, it's like we're born anew. The only appearance of things just never changing is the persistence in holding on to old identity and way of perceiving something, someone, the experience. And therefore, that is what continues, okay? That's like your observation. The outside is going to reflect back to you how you're observing, okay, guys, from an identity. So be an identity that observes in a different way, okay? Test it out, okay? If you're over-emotional about your SP, then test it out with other people, and then you will see it will build up your confidence in your power. But in the case of those of you that want your SP, why the fuck not? It works, okay? So, but it's all about you. It's never about them. So again, be the version of you that knows that you get to dictate how people show up in your reality through your identification with self. And the outside, if you feel reactive or you keep going back to old story where things were said or done and you keep focusing on them, you're still identified with them as a truth, and they don't have to, it doesn't have to be the truth. There's an identity. You have to align the version of you that is in the identity that has things exactly what you want, doesn't even think or associate or perceive things in the same way. It's a totally different version of you, and people will show up differently, and you must let go of how you perceive things before. That's part of being in a different identity. The outside is going to reflect that back, okay? I hope that made sense, guys. I think I did this as a special video because there's a couple of people in my community that keep bringing up old circumstances and conditions, and I wanted to clarify that. So persist, why do we say persist until things harden into fact? Well, if you've been persisting in an identity with respect to a particular person, area of life, etc. For example, if you're not confident in your workplace, you feel inadequate, and you keep persisting that your boss is a quote unquote asshole, or not rewarding you, or you're not adequate at your job, or everyone else gets the promotion, well, why not try to persist in being a new version, a confident version, a competent version, a version that knows no matter what, this is your reality, and you are always treated with respect and valued, and you're the one that is the star of the show, and you get everything that you want. With respect to SP, it's going to be the same thing. Think from that identity, think from that end. And so just let everything else go. It's not relevant. It's only relevant if you keep it alive, if you see it as facts, if you see it as fixed. So persist is not about forcing and working so hard to fixing something from before. There's nothing to fix. It's about stepping into the version of you that exists now, that thinks as if this is how it is because this is who you are. Full stop, guys. Okay? All right, I hope that was helpful. And for any of you that haven't checked out my course, Shifted, you can check it out. The link is in the bio. We go through conscious manifesting, manifesting 101, what is it? And then how to actually consciously apply universal law of assumption, embody your higher self, manifest with ease, with the knowing by shifting your identity, which is what we've covered off in this video. So I hope to see you all over there, and otherwise I'll see you guys soon.